Just like the old days, right? Critique!
Alright, let's not beat around the asteroid belt here. We genuinely thought that Star Wars Outlaws was gonna be pretty bad. A mediocre at very best sort of affair. Just sloppily reskin any old Ubisoft open world game with Star Wars stuff and be done with it. Money in the bank. However, and genuinely despite ourselves, over the past 35 hours or so, we've been having an absolute blast with this game because of one very important aspect: the immaculate vibes. Massive Entertainment has nailed them. Ahoy folks, Krago here with our final review of Star Wars Outlaws, and it's about time too because it feels like Ubisoft's open world action adventure has been on the verge of release for ages now. But before we get going, this review was written by PJ O'Reilly for PureXbox.com and adapted by me.
Alright, let's go.
Stripping the usual Jedi Empire pomposity and its stifling politics, Star Wars Outlaws is instead more of the lawless rogues and renegades, the slippery denizens of Mos Eisley Cantina, criminal cartels, pew-pew laser gunfights, battered speeder bikers, and all of that stuff that was actually really cool about the movies. Playing the role of Kay Vess just feels great. It looks awesome, and even early doors before the game's shown its full deck, there's lots to enjoy in absorbing surprisingly detailed and atmospheric locations from the various movies while shooting folk in slow motion.
Okay, not bad.
It's fitting, really, given that the movies, let's face it, are very much held up by entirely cool vibes too. It's what we want, what we need, and what we expect from Star Wars. The acting is usually rough, the dialogue atrocious, but there's awesome spaceships, AT-AT walkers, and those wee sand lads that make all those noises. So all of that dud stuff just takes a back seat. Here, it's the gameplay mechanics that are, well, decent. They do the job, but it's the all-encompassing vibes that make it. As Kay Vess, in a story that we found engaging throughout, and we're not going to spoil that here, you find yourself in a bit of a tight spot with a crime syndicate and need to put together a squad to pull off a heist for big-time money. Kay needs to rise through the ranks, make important pals, get to know the life of a renegade, and prepare to run with the big fish. From this simple setup, we get to travel to various exciting planets from the movies and play a Han Solo-esque role, shooting baddies and playing gangs off against each other via a surprisingly robust faction system, as well as blasting around on a customizable speeder bike. To be honest, that would have probably been enough for us, but there's loads more here that we didn't expect.
You can tell me about it on the way back to Maragana.
Wait, whatever he's paying you, I can pay double.
Sitting down to play Star Wars Outlaws for the first time, we were concerned that it had bitten off way more than it could chew in giving players big, detailed open-world sections to explore, whilst also introducing space travel and even space combat. You could, if you were an awful person, say that we had a bad feeling about it. However, not only are these space bits good, they actually beat out a lot of games when it comes to transitioning between planet surfaces and space, making for a hugely atmospheric system of travel that adds a ton of, you guessed it, vibes to proceedings. Locking onto a planet and rocking down through the atmosphere to unveil some great big city or incredible vista is amazing at the best of times. But when you're arriving into these places like Tatooine, places that you feel you know so well, it's just very exciting. What's more, the space sections look fantastic, with great big colorful planets, asteroid belts and junk everywhere, and dogfights, whilst fairly simplistic, feel and look slick too. Then planetside, where we expected the ho-hum aspects of these sort of games, the collectathon, tower climbing and so on to take hold and root in everything, well, Massive has decided not to do that. Yep, they've pared back the collectathon side of things, bringing it more in line with the likes of Red Dead 2 in how it promotes a more natural evolution and progression to the things that you find and collect. There's still lots of busy work, but it just doesn't feel as such.
All right.
We should also say that this is a Star Wars that feels much more lived in and alive than the recent Jedi games from Respawn, which in itself has come as a big surprise. It may not be as flashy, and we can't do awesome Force stuff, but it's certainly more engaging in the downtime, more all-encompassing in how it's presented with its seamless transitions to space. It also adopts a bit of an Elden Ring approach in how it gives us great big open areas to tool around and rank up in. These then sit alongside dungeons of sorts, bespoke areas that you'll enter and stay in to complete stealth sections and various other infiltration and guns blazing missions. So, some of our personal issues with open world busy work are largely addressed here, and instead of resting on their laurels with the fighting and stealthing, we also get some robust ass sneaking about that's reminiscent to both Splinter Cell and even the most recent Deus Ex games. Have we lost our minds? Yes, but that's very unconnected to what we're saying right now. The level design and mission choices are impressive in a way that we just didn't expect, making for an experience that feels like it was made by a team that truly understands the excitement of being an outlaw.
Time to
Heard
move
your
next.
job's all done. Guessing you'll want your credits then.
There are hours of premium grade sneaking around and pew-pewing folk here. Loads of opportunities to hustle, backstab, and climb through miles of vents. You've also got serious fan service in the lore and world building, as well as stuff like Sabak. Yes, Sabak! And it's not just some lazy half-assed card game either. This is a whole game in and of itself. And there are even special cards and bonuses hidden around the world to improve your deck with. It's great, and it feeds into the overall quality and care in the loot and collectible systems that you'll interact with here.
Thanks for the game. Ugh.
The various factions that you can play off one another and the way in which you can take on their missions is all absorbing too. None of your decisions have any huge ramifications, but that's okay because we didn't come for that. It's finely balanced, not enough to bog things down in big choices, but just enough to give you what you need to roleplay an outlaw, to feel like you have the space and power to pick and choose who to align with or screw over at any time, which is a perfect way to set you up and off into this galaxy.
You have done well, Kay Vess.
In terms of the core combat, Kay has a pistol that can cycle through various functions, such as regular fire, electric, and power modes. Of course, these then feed into environmental and combat puzzles that are all of a decent standard, and you can also pull off an absolute load of different stealth takedowns from the shadows, or use Kay's cutesy pal Nyx to do all sorts of things that Sam Fisher would be proud of. We fully expected Nyx to be a little bit of an annoying pain in the ass because we're jaded, terrible people, but our little furry bundle is actually the game's way of allowing you to do all of that crap you can do with electronics and so on in Watch Dogs. As it turns out, you see, Nyx is a violent little rascal, a fearless fiend who will tear into enemies without hesitation, fetch weapons and flip switches like a boss. Heck, Nyx will even blow stuff up if told to. This fluffy little bastard has got more bodies on its belt than most stormtroopers. It's actually kinda terrifying.
I know. Never gonna happen again, okay, buddy?
You can pick up weapons dropped by enemies during firefights, so you get to play around with the guns that you'll recognize from the movies too. Add in a simple cover system, some rappelling and swinging about, Red Dead slow-mo shooting, which looks kinda cool on speeder bikes, then bring it all together with that stealth system and boom! This is a very good Star Wars. We haven't mentioned all the Star Wars universe-styled versions of well-known arcade machines in the various bars that you'll visit as you pick up random jobs from scumbags, or the bunch of cool stuff about the main story campaign, which we're not going to spoil, not even in the slightest. We haven't detailed how the controls and feel of your speeder improve as you level up, or that leveling up in general here feels tidy, an unfussy affair that doesn't require you to spend aeons in the game's menu instead of having fun shooting stormtroopers. Star Wars Outlaws really has genuinely taken us by surprise then. We're still playing it after a review, which is always a very good sign, and we already can't wait to get our hands on whatever DLC they chuck our way over the season ahead.
Jabba, right? Look, don't try anything. I got a whole crew surrounding this. Oh, you're skipping that part.
Just like Avalanche's studio's superlative Mad Max, this is an open world effort that absolutely screams incredibly average at you as you approach it. However, forgive some rough edges, accept a few run-of-the-mill mechanics, let those vibes and an obvious love of the source material do the hard work, and you'll have a blast. I suppose finally, and with regards to performance, there are the usual performance and quality options here, including a middle-of-the-road 40 FPS mode. We highly recommend playing on the performance mode as it feels smoothest in combat, and we couldn't see a huge difference in how it all looked. The 40 FPS mode is a decent in-between, although once you've played the 60 FPS, it feels a bit clunky. The full quality mode just isn't worth the frame rate tumble as you really get a sense of it in the game's combat, and we didn't experience any particularly notable bugs either, beyond a bit of pop-in and some rough textures here and there. Star Wars Outlaws has been a thoroughly welcome surprise. We expected a great big open world dullard of a thing, but instead we got a clever stealth system, excellent level design, fun combat, and a wise refining of the usual collectathon and busywork mechanics. Kay Vess and Nix make a highly competent stealth and death squad. The whole thing looks and sounds great, and you even get to take off from planets, fly into space, and blow stuff up. What it lacks in new mechanics or originality in gameplay, it makes up for with vibes. It's got it where it counts, kid. Well then, there you have it, a full final review done and dusted. And with a great score of 8 out of 10, it's not bad going either. Let us know if you'll be picking up Star Wars Outlaws on Xbox Series consoles in the comments below. And all that's left to say is thanks for watching and bye-bye for now. Cheerio!